This is Tennessee football.
The Gray Zone.
Just kidding. You are listening to the Gray Zone podcast featuring Gray Thompson, hosted by GVL Media, produced with Sit and Spin Studios. And we are doing it this week at the Growler Haus in the Village of West Greenville, our sponsor this week. I'm drinking a... Dave, what is this? Do you remember? It's number 15. For all you silly, really dedicated beer drinkers out there, they have... What is the app that they use here? Is it Untapped?
Yes.
I think it's actually two of them, but I don't use it. So if you're into that, come to the Growler Haus in the Village of West Greenville. I don't know who else uses it here, but it's really neat.
And then your little picture will pop up on the board, and it'll tell everybody what you've been drinking.
I like that. I like when your picture shows up.
I like it too. People should see it more.
That sultry, sexy, seductive voice you hear is Dave Galloway, none other than Dr.
Friends.
Dave. What's up, brother?
Nothing, man. I'm glad to be here.
First
Thank you
time
so
on the
much.
podcast?
It is, and I've never done this before.
My tiger buddy. I think I'm wearing a shirt you gave me. Or did I steal it when I left one morning?
I think I gave you the orange one, actually.
Really?
But I appreciate that you have both of them.
Well, what do you think about my orange and white hat?
It's beautiful. And Quest is also beautiful.
First of all, thank you for being here. I asked Dave to do this today, and here he is now. Mere hours earlier, I asked him if he could do it, and now he is. And he's actually already wearing Clemson gear because he's a true fan.
I had to cancel
bandwagoner.
a few high-dollar engagements to make it here, but it's my pleasure. I'm happy to do it.
I thought you were going to say you were running late because you had to leave at Tennessee. It's Tennessee Hate Week.
You speak more truth than you know, Gray.
Do you hate any teams out there? Is there any team that you really, really hate? I don't get that from you, but you're a Clemson guy through and through, so do you hate South Carolina, for example?
I mean, yes.
How did you feel about them beating Georgia?
I will tell you that I was gallivanting at Fete Greenville this weekend, not doing too good of a job of keeping up with games because there was just too much awesome stuff going on in town.
Gallivanting Galloways, by the way. That's a band playing at the Radio Room on Friday.
Yeah, they should be. So I was just kind of wandering around downtown, and it was time to eat lunch and also get prepared to start watching my Tigers play. And we popped into a bar and caught the end of it. And I had seen that it had been close, but I was like, well, that's crazy, but there's no way. And then we know what transpired. Triple overtime, double overtime?
No, it was double overtime because
double overtime,
Georgia's kicker
multiple missed field goals.
Exactly right.
Yes. And, so that was shocking. But I will say that there was a Gamecock fan at the bar in front of me. I cheered when the field goal missed. I said, holy crap,
yeah,
South Carolina won.
See, feels good,
and I said, congratulations.
Yeah.
But, in reality, in my head, it was all because I love Clemson that much, because all these doubters trying to talk about how we're slipping and our schedule's not great, yada, yada.
All right.
Go
on.
So we get to play and beat South Carolina, I assume, rightfully so.
How do you feel about Clemson being ranked 9th in the AP? I'm sorry, 8th. I figured it was probably something like that by now.
No.
The way people are
third,
really
right?
upset about it. Yeah, it's 3rd. It's good.
Don't freak me out like that.
Don't be freaked out because it doesn't matter. It's the
No,
AP.
I know. But
I'll tell you the Earth's flat. Are you freaked out? Because you know it's not true and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well.
Don't you? Oh, Dave, you're smart. You went to Clemson. You know the Earth's not flat.
Oh, I know.
It's an ag school.
There's a lot of people that don't.
Yeah, they're
Sammy
not coming
Watkins,
on the podcast.
unfortunately, is one of those people.
Is that right?
That is
well,
right.
Sammy's a millionaire. He can do what he wants.
Yeah, he can buy his opinions.
He served his time.
But yeah, so basically I was just like, oh, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
South Carolina's going to have a little shiny gold medal on their season. Or maybe, not a gold medal, maybe a blue ribbon. Little blue ribbon on their season that we can help smother at the end. Bottom line, it's a booster for us. it also takes Georgia out of the way.
Well, kind of. They don't necessarily control their own destiny, but it certainly benefits Clemson.
Right, yeah. Overall, it's a good thing, and I was happy about it. I congratulated them. But, I mean, it really was exciting because you started to feel bad for them.
For Georgia?
No, South Carolina.
South Carolina. Oh, did you
started
really?
to feel bad for them. You know, you lose to North Carolina, you're just slipping.
See?
Then your freshman quarterback comes in and looks great for a while against Alabama and others,
Yeah.
and then he's injured.
Aw.
And you got the third string guy, and you're like, come on guys, you can do it. And they did it. And so it was, it's something.
I'm laughing because Dave Galloway is here talking about South Carolina Gamecocks football. That's not why I brought you here.
That's right.
And that also answers my question that you don't really hate them. Not the way I hate Tennessee, because I don't really celebrate when they do good. They beat somebody this weekend. In fact, it was an SEC team, so not unlike 2 years ago where they didn't beat a single one. Anchortown, Vanderbilt beat them again.
It's not something I'm proud to admit, but, I'll cheer for them every once in a while.
There goes another Tennessee fan.
This is a real house divider amongst Clemson fans about whether you should ever cheer for the Gamecocks. And I mean, if you want to know my hate, Gray,
I do.
You just look at one of the last times I was here at Growler Haus when it was not a lovely fall or winter day such as today, where they build beautiful fires in their outdoor patio fireplace.
Yeah.
It was a sunny, warm day. The fireplace was unoccupied. And I put some South Carolina gear on top of a pile of sticks, and I held a lighter next to it, and I said, we have some good Gamecock kindling. It's going to burn real hot because it's already a dumpster fire.
Oh, my God.
That was one of the last times I was at Growler Haus. So, yes, I do
Is this for
hate
real?
the
Did you do
Gamecocks.
that?
Yes. And it was back when you used to swap team gear for the episodes of talking about football when it was recorded on camera.
Oh, yeah.
It was your Gamecock gear.
Dave, former superstar of Fete Greenville TV, among other things. Occasionally
He's
superstar.
lying.
No,
He's
I'm not
lying.
lying. Dude, you did it for several years. I probably wouldn't have done it if you weren't on it. I didn't know Andy very well. Anyway, now we're off topic. Let's get back on topic.
Football. So what's up, Gray?
That's a couple. Oh, that's a good one. These are Tennessee mating calls. Yes. There's a flop. Turn around, dude. You see all those pretty girls? Yeah, they're not all that pretty, but they're all wearing Tennessee orange, that pumpkin rock orange, and they're trying to get in here because they hear those mating calls and don't realize it's not coming from some damn dirty ball. I don't love them, Dave, and it's hate week for Tennessee. I can't stand them. Oh, do you remember the last time Alabama didn't beat Tennessee? Me either. Did you know that no Tennessee fan has ever tweeted about beating Alabama? Ever? They've never Instagrammed about beating Alabama. They've never Facebooked about beating Alabama.
That's a timestamp right there.
They've MySpaced about it, probably.
Ooh.
Time travel, buddy. They kicked our butt. Oh, Dabo. Like I said before, right before we started doing this, I brought. When Alabama beats Tennessee, you smoke a cigar, right? That was a tradition. Coach Bear Bryant would give the players a cigar, it still is a violation, but now it would be, you get expelled. You can't give them anything. They have to bring their own. So after we beat Tennessee this weekend, Alabama is literally going to report about 80 NCAA infractions, and they're all for tobacco. They have to, because they're all going to light them up when we crush them. You can't do that anymore, but I brought you a Cohiba. A gold Cohiba, Dave. A delicious Cuban cigar. And I don't know where it is, which means I left it somewhere, and some little girl somewhere is probably going to smoke this thing and not realize and get hooked. And that makes me a bad adult, right, in terms of tobacco control. Yeah. Plus,
you
that
should
was
really be ashamed of yourself.
like a $14 cigar. Dude. It was really good. I have no idea where it is.
I prefer my NCAA violations to be of the confetti type
Go on.
rather than cigars.
Is that a violation? Confetti?
Yes, illegal use of confetti. Clemson self-reported it because we're such a dirty program.
Wait a second. What are you talking about? When?
Early in the season, we
year?
self-reported some violations. It was
No.
like, sorry guys, we did some confetti
I
stuff.
didn't know that was a thing.
I don't even know what it was, but it's ridiculous.
You know what this is?
Is that Rocky Top?
That's right. That's the prettiest girl in the state of Tennessee. That's her voicemail message, right? But guess what, Dave? Nobody calls. What's the
Sad.
difference between Tennessee and $1? You don't know, do you?
I don't know.
You can get 4 quarters out of $1.
Ooh.
Tennessee sucks. Tennessee sucks. I wrote that for you, Dave. I wrote it right now. Keep it in your heart. I digress. Let's talk about Clemson. Kicked Florida State's ass up and down all day long.
Yes.
And just like Dabo Swinney kicked the ass of the kicker for Clemson for missing a field goal or something. What did he? Is that why he was so mad at him?
Yes.
That was just for missing a field goal, right?
Best is the standard, Gray.
Oh, I agree.
That was not best.
That's why Travis Etienne was throwing touchdown
And he's missed
passes,
a couple
right?
of small ones. Oh, gosh. Come on.
That's why Trevor threw another INT, right?
Yes.
No.
He can do no wrong.
I'll ask you in a second, but my quick synopsis of this game was Clemson was right back on track. All of the fuel from underwhelming performance against North Carolina on the road and a bye week pissed Dabo Swinney off. I've never seen him behave this way. He was angry. He was fired up Thursday before the game talking about Trevor Lawrence having a potential some kind of injury, which was a rumor started by a Clemson site. Dabo was pissed, and he doesn't get pissed at this stuff. He didn't. I couldn't tell you the last time I saw him get pissed in front of the media at all. And then Saturday, did you see him before they ran down the hill?
Yes, he was getting fired up on top of the hill.
I've never seen him like that.
Yeah, he's pumped, man.
I didn't think Clemson was going to cover the spread just because I thought Florida State had no chance to throw the ball. So I thought clock control by running the ball as a side effect would keep them within 4 touchdowns, which I believe is the spread. But that didn't matter to Clemson. Dabo was pissed, and it transcended into his players. I don't know that I like it, to be honest. I hope it doesn't happen anymore. I don't think it's good to react the way that the Twitter sphere and the public networks that don't matter. None of these polls matter at all whatsoever. 1 iota. And we treated it like it was, number 1, like we shouldn't have expected it. Number 2, like it didn't matter, because it doesn't. And we acted like it did.
Bumping stuff. Podcast amateur here.
We'll edit this out. In fact, let's start over. I'm Gray Thompson. You're listening to the great. Oh, you don't want to start over? We're already pretty good.
I don't remember what I said.
Best is
before
the
I wrote
standard,
this.
Dave. So
yes. So, I mean, first of all, he clarified in a press conference later, like Dabo was fired up because
you heard the press conference.
yes,
I love the press conferences.
Dabo was fired up because, like I said, best is a standard. He expects the best out of every player. Play your best game that day. That's all you can control, and that's what you got to do. So, you know, he knew we hadn't been playing up to par, and to be honest, that's the way it kind of goes every season, and a lot of fans freak out about it. A lot of the media freaks out about it, but it's always the same story. You know, it takes us a little while to get rolling. It's a new team. There's always some kind of turnover, no matter whether it's, you know, the huge defensive line that we lost last year or, you know, just various receivers going out, new quarterback controversies when you had the Kelly Bryant and all that. It always takes a little bit to get going, and then they hit their stride, and there's nothing to worry about. But that's because he holds them to that high standard. And the fact is, he got really pissed off because the whole thing, not so much about the controversy of they were making stuff up like, oh, he's injured, whatever. But it was really all about the fact that they questioned a player about his medical history when the team hadn't released it. And he's like, these are young kids. Y'all don't need to be asking them their medical records.
But again, that's coming from a
releases.
Clemson site. We've become just so super sensitive about everything, man. And the bye week just crushes everybody. Nobody's prepared.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like. But this was just way
They got
too much
nothing else to
overreaction.
talk about, too. So.
Well, and again, now that you've got the polls, in spite of Clemson looking like the number 1 team in America again, they're not ranked number 1. When
true.
Travis Etienne is throwing touchdowns to Justin Ross, running back Travis Etienne, because he's explosive, can throw touchdowns. And Dave, that was an awesome throw. That wasn't just the running back throwing it like Saquon Barkley did a few years ago at Penn State under James Franklin. This was
running left and dropping dimes.
Did
to
I
the
just
sideline.
see that, number 9? Like, go for it. Like, it was great. They threw the book at Florida State. Trevor still got an interception, but Kelly Gramlich said it on WCCP today. It was the same way he's thrown one in every single game so far this season. They bait him to make this mistake, and he takes the bait, and you get one. Everybody gets one.
Pretty much.
And that's when it was 42-0. This was a total mauling. So Trevor Lawrence threw an interception, and they didn't score on that possession. They were up 35-0, and then got the ball back and returned it for a touchdown on kick patrol. So
DK.
well, I'm just saying that it's not like they kept Trevor in for 6 touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? That's all I mean.
But hey, DK, Darion Kendrick,
Yeah, go on.
first season playing on defense, gets his first pick 6.
That was fun to
Looked
watch.
beautiful. He was in the perfect position just in case that ball came his way.
I'm glad you
Did.
brought that up because of the hugging, the celebrating, the way those guys were competing on the field, the way they were performing. Look, Florida State sucks out loud. They're a horrible team. Some of the teams Ohio State have played suck out loud too. But that doesn't mean you can't tell how good they are. It's the same thing with Clemson. There's an argument for Clemson to be number 1, and it's a good argument. The problem is you have other teams who are also undefeated, who have played higher-ranked teams who are certainly more competitive. And what do? Well, you can rank them however you want, but you kind of have to keep them close. What you are in control of is whether or not you're going to get furious about it. I choose not to. What I struggle with is how much I should or shouldn't say about it because I see and hear so many people who are smart who shouldn't be talking like this.
So here's my thing. I think that it would be completely absurd if Clemson kept playing like they did and it got to the end of the season and there were somehow other teams that people could argue had a better schedule than them and they would get kept out of the playoff. I think it'd be absurd. They're defending national champs. Like,
there was an argument for it, but not anymore. Too many teams have lost.
I mean, most likely, yes. And I think it would be absurd anyway. Like, they've shown us before, they let Alabama in without a SEC championship.
That's true.
Right.
That was also before the Big 12 even had a championship. Are you really going to go there, Dave, on Tennessee Hate Week?
No,
I see you wearing orange over there.
No, I'm just saying, though, that, there's been wacky things that have happened where other teams felt slighted, and you would think that at this point, given all the years that Clemson's made it to the playoff and performed at a high level and won 2 of them, that they wouldn't get left out. But, if there was a chance of it, then, that would be absurd. And that's why something like the South Carolina beating Georgia is like, okay, cool. Just in case we need that little bit of push, then we got it.
No.
But while we're on this topic
Please.
of Clemson dropping in the polls, there is a great tweet I saw, and I don't even know who this is. Blowout SZN. I don't even know how I came across this.
Oh, my God. Is this a porn site?
It's a guy that poops his pants a lot.
Oh, so he's a Tennessee fan. Go on.
No, yes, exactly. There you go.
We probably shouldn't say some random Twitter actual handle as a Tennessee fan.
All right, we'll just cut that out.
We do have 1-star reviews, though, so people hate me.
I just love this quote, though. This simple statement of facts.
Let me have it, because I can't read
Don't let Clemson dropping in the rankings and schedule talk distract you from the fact that Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, and Ohio State are a combined 3-11 against Clemson since 2013. 2 of those wins are from Bama.
Yeah, Clemson's elite. And
That's
Clemson's
right.
been elite long enough for us to...
And we've been running that scene for a while.
Look,
so
if
there
Clemson's
shouldn't
undefeated-
be any worry. Everybody just calm down.
And
We're
they
good. We're good.
Yeah. So I just wish more people within the culture would be saying stuff like that. That's all.
And the reason I brought up the iffy stuff is like, I know people are thinking that, but you just really, it's going to work itself out. Clemson's going to be balling out. There's going to be no denying.
They already are. They're still undefeated.
I mean, the fact that they let somebody like Ohio State into the playoff
Go on.
a few years ago, because people are like, I don't know if they should make it, and people are like, oh, they're doing great.
Well,
and then 31-0 happens. So.
Sure, but that's happened to a lot of first-round teams. And it would be different, and this year's going to be no different, Dave. I don't necessarily expect as many teams to be undefeated again. Last year we had 3 undefeated teams going into the playoff, right? This year we might have 3, we might have 4, we might have 2. We might have another team from the same division again. I mean, that's legitimately matching up, but I don't want to trigger anybody, so I'll be real careful about how I say that. Because again, none of that has happened yet. Clemson could lose the next 5 games. They're not gonna. So let your heart rate come down.
As long as they do what they're supposed to do and keep their goals in front of them, like it always happens, and we're good.
I'd like to see people learn from their mistakes. What bugs me about this scenario is that we've had this before. Don't forget, last year Clemson was the very first undefeated team to win the championship in the playoff era, 15-0, right? We'd never seen it before.
Yep.
For the first 4 years, every team that had been into the playoff had a loss before the playoff, all right? And not even necessarily, like you said, including a conference championship game. Nobody's won at losing a conference championship game, but Oklahoma, for example, got in last year because they finally had one. Without that conference championship game in the Big 12, they don't just not get into the playoff. They're out because they hadn't beat Texas before. But Kyler Murray doesn't win the Heisman. That changed everything for them. It was huge. It's likely to be huge again this year, except I heard a weird thing this week that Jalen Hurts kind of probably cost himself the Heisman. Don't forget, Kyler Murray lost this game last year and won the Heisman, okay? If Jalen Hurts goes 13-0 and beats Texas twice, that's a tall order, okay? That's going to be tall for anybody to pass. However, I digress. There's nothing to worry about. Clemson and everybody else controls its own destiny, including perhaps even Georgia, but certainly Clemson. What I don't like, I mentioned before, I like to see people, individuals, learn from their mistakes. Clemson against North Carolina wasn't because Clemson's bad. It wasn't because North Carolina's great. It's because North Carolina was playing at their best, not making many mistakes, and Clemson could not stop making mistakes. Perhaps most importantly, because of Trevor Lawrence. Maybe that's a personal opinion, except I don't feel like it is anymore, because this weekend they didn't ask Trevor Lawrence to throw any less, and he was outstanding. And he only played, did he play at all in the second half? Did he play some of the third quarter?
Yeah, he did, I believe.
Didn't necessarily have to. Hell, let ETN throw the ball more. I don't care. Trevor Lawrence did what he did. They fixed it. Dave, if they can keep that going, because he had been overthrowing guys last year and this year, we're almost approaching the point where he's played a full year. Wait, has he? I think we have passed that point where he's literally played enough games to be considered a starter for technically a full season in the playoff era, right? Because he wasn't a starter until week 5 last week. Now, it's not even math. It's just counting, and this bad counting grade. Of course it's right. If he
time-wise, it's been a year.
If he had made one fewer mistakes against North Carolina, we wouldn't have even been just one. We wouldn't have had those conversations.
Right.
But it sure did work, and it fueled their fire. They worked on their routes. They worked on fundamentals, and they executed like crazy. I don't care who it is. If this was Auburn, hell, if this was Tennessee, I might even celebrate it. Except that Tennessee sucks, and they haven't played football anywhere close to being this level of elite competitive since, oh my God, it's been 20 years, Dave. But I won't forget. That's why I hate them, because they crushed my soul, man. They were so good and beat us so bad. Look, I mentioned cigars before. Make absolutely no mistake. Coach Dabo Swinney smoked cigars when they beat Tennessee. I guarantee it, Dave, because in 1992, when they went undefeated, that Tennessee game was not exactly fun. It was a competitive game, and beating them back then was a huge deal, right? It was a really, really big deal because Tennessee, for the most part, was beating everybody.
It's Peyton Manning days, right?
Well, that was a little bit later.
Not with that.
Yeah, well, that was a few years later, but it was a side effect of how good they were before. You never knew. That was a sincerely competitive rivalry. It just hasn't been for the better part of a generation now, dude. People who are alive and playing football have never seen Tennessee beat Alabama. It's insane.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
I'm loving it, and I hate them. And it's that pumpkin rot orange. I got an orange on right now. I got my orange and white Quest hat because I'm wearing a Clemson shirt, and I don't want to look like I'm a coach or some sort of poser that can't get enough. Even if it's true, I just don't want to look like it.
Tennessee's fall is almost as shocking. I feel like I have to reiterate how much I hate South Carolina at this point because you've thrown me under the bus with that.
I'll give you the mic.
Almost as shocking as the years that Carolina went on their run with Spurrier and beat us 5 in a row.
Yeah.
That was like, what? And I've grown up in the area. Let me tell you, Gray, I used to go into Walmarts.
Tell me.
Used to go into all the different stores. And no, I'm not saying Walmarts with an S. Like,
Used to.
because my grandma did say Bilos with an S. I'm saying Walmarts as in multiple locations. Went to the Walmarts.
One.
Yeah, I used to walk into those kind of stores. It'd be like, your little college football area. There was like 90% orange and then a little tiny rack of Gamecock gear because
I know what that's
people
like.
were ashamed. And once they started beating us, the ratio started switching, and I was like, man, the universe has got to get back in order. This is not normal. And it did. So,
It did. It took
anyway.
time. And it took a first round
Side note,
number
I'm just-
1 draft pick to be able to do it with Jadeveon Clowney. And guys like Marcus Lattimore, who
They had some
also
ballers,
got hurt
no
bad
doubt.
against Tennessee, the team that we hate because of Tennessee Hate Week. You broke Marcus Lattimore. Look, I know you hate South Carolina, but you can't hate Marcus Lattimore. And if you do, fine, whatever. Tweet at me at Color of Gray, but I don't care. Marcus Lattimore was a great player for any team. He was a great representative of the sport. He's a great representative of the species, dude. I'll
And
never
Clowney's a
forget
baller,
the way
too.
Tennessee turned his knee backwards. Like the fact that it was the team that I hate that ruined his career makes me sick. Oh, but great. Georgia did it too. Georgia broke his other knee. I don't even remember if it was his other knee, but I don't hate Georgia. I had a lot of Georgia tweets this past weekend when they were losing. Tweets, Facebook messages, text messages. I had 2 phone calls that I missed because I was at Fete Greenville. Hanging with Trevor Lawrence, by the way. Yep, you get 24 hours to party, and he was out there trying to be inconspicuous the day after the Florida State went out. And I sent you the picture that I took.
Yeah.
Which I took it because, first of all, I was trying to figure out if it was him. And then you see it it's a zoom lens, so you see it in the viewfinder. It's like, oh, that's definitely Trevor Lawrence. So Trevor Lawrence was hanging out at Fete Greenville, this little 3-day festival in downtown Greenville for food, 7 music stages. It's terrific. I love it. I hustled my ass off trying to get to all these music acts. It was such a blast. And to see
was.
Trevor Lawrence out there, arguably the number 1 player in the country, right? Certainly a top draft pick when the time is right. Just hanging out
Just loving
with his
life.
girlfriend and some friends.
Loving life, loving the upstate, loving
I think it was
Clemson.
Amari Rogers with him, but I tried to not stare at him. It was kind of weird. They were loving life. They were down there to have fun. It's not
He
an
had
easy
his-
hike to get
He
there.
had his
from Clemson.
golden locks all tucked up in his hoodie.
He was wearing a black. He was all in all
Incognito.
black, but it's
Unabomber
So he was
style,
hanging
really.
behind the stage. So literally everybody's gaze is going towards his direction, and he's back there by himself, trying to be. I'm talking too much about Trevor Lawrence. This sounds super crude. Yeah, I just thought it was really cool that he didn't need a security entourage, right? That he can hang out in this town, downtown at this big festival. He wasn't exactly walking down the street, and I kept thinking there was going to be a mob of people any second now. Because he wasn't, look, if he wore a beard or sunglasses or something, it might have been easier not to recognize. But you would recognize it. If he shaved his head, you would recognize
If he
him.
wore a beard.
You know what I'm
That would
saying.
be hilarious.
Like tried to. He could probably legitimately dress up like a female, right? I mean, he's got the hair and stuff. The problem is, dude, I recognize him from so far away. Look, I'm tall. I'm 6'4", right?
Yeah.
I don't see tall people like me very often. Like when I see my identical twin brother Bennett roll tide, I think, oh my God, yeah, by the way, I'm really tall. When I see Trevor Lawrence trying to hide behind the stage, I'm like, who the hell's that tall guy that looks kind of like,
See,
oh, it's Trevor Lawrence.
This was why I figured that you noticed him and I never saw him was because I'm below everyone's heads and shoulders, and you've just got that little meerkat gaze above all crowds. It's a good thing unless you want to get close to a band.
I
then
hope
that
he had
sucks.
fun. It looked like he was having fun. It looked like everybody was having fun Saturday. It looks like this team knows how to have fun. Another thing that people still complain about is that Clemson's celebrating after every win. I said it before on the podcast, Dave. I don't care what you do. Celebrate however you can, however often you can for every single win against anybody. I
man.
don't care if it's Charlotte. I don't care if you're Bowling Green and you beat Toledo for the first time in 8 years or something. I don't care. In fact, I celebrate that one. I'll take my clothes off for Bowling Green. Go Falcons. It was awesome. That was way overdue, too.
these kids only get so many games in their college career, and the vast majority of them are not going to the NFL. So live it up, man.
They did.
Love
That's my point.
every win. Yeah,
That's
you
what
should.
I'm trying to say. The culture,
and that is the
culture
is
around
that
Clemson has not
fun.
responded that way this week. Clemson did. Clemson proper, the players, the coaches, everything they did was, number one, consistent. Number two, it was a lot of fun. It was effective. It was the right thing to do. And nobody else is celebrating like that. I just wish they were.
And as you can see by, Dabo's reaction to the kicker, etc., we still weren't playing a perfect game. And that's just all part of the process, but we're getting there. So
I like that, but that's coaching.
And I think we're playing great. So.
That's coaching. That's exactly what coaching is. I figure you get paid $4 million not to kowtow to guys like Jameis Winston and Cam Newton, because we've seen that before.
Ugh.
Not to just kind of let them go and get away with whatever you can, and maybe you have to suspend them for a game against a team like Clemson when you've been arrested twice. Things like that. You don't have that at Clemson. You have discipline. You have, when you screw up, your coach is going to call you out. What Dabo said on his press conference, which you heard, Dave, so back me up. He said, I'm not going to do a Dabo impression. Should I try?
No.
I can't do it.
Yes, try.
I know an
Let's hear it,
Alabama.
Gray. Let's hear it.
I can't do it, dude. I got nothing.
That
I don't actually know how to do it.
Sounds like Coach O.
Why did you do what? I'll tell you what. I'll say what Dabo Sweeney said, but in Coach O terms, right? Back there, I grew up in the Sweeney household. We didn't have no timeouts. I grew up. I was born here in Greenville. I didn't grow up in South Carolina, or I grew up in Cincinnati, and I would visit my grandfather and my grandparents and family in Alabama. And there was no place like it in my life, for my experience, for discipline. Like my grandfather, when we would visit him, he was great. He was so fun. But if we screwed up, he called you out. He treated you like an adult. I just remember not really. I respected it at the time. I respected a hell of a lot more, especially my dad. That's kind of how he raised us too. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. In the 21st century, you'll probably get in trouble, like to even suggest that you were ever spanked. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
You can't even spank your dog now. You know what I'm saying? You'll get thrown in jail for the next 30 years. But Dabo Sweeney didn't get that. You know what I'm saying? And he got that kind of discipline when he was at the University of Alabama too. And I know a lot of people hate him, trying to say you shouldn't, but you shouldn't. I'm saying a lot of programs don't necessarily have that discipline advantage that's consistent. Clemson, for example, might not have been one of them. Certainly, I would argue, not before Dabo Sweeney became the head coach. And I think that's what they saw in him for a guy who was an interim and had never coached never been a head ball coach, never been an OC, never been a defensive coordinator or anything other than a wide receiver's assistant, basically. Ever.
I'll tell you what, man. When I was at Clemson, it was all Bowden. And
great coach.
To me, why I got so fired up when Dabo was even interim was because he got so excited and animated on the sidelines. He was passionate. Like, that's what it was. He was passionate about everything he was doing.
But yes,
it still is, yes. But I mean, from the get-go, he was. And I was just like, God, it's about time, man. Like, we'd be playing like garbage out there, and Bowden would just kind of be head down, and he'd like kind of point at somebody and say something. And I'm like,
that's not an X
get
factor.
Fired up, man.
Yep.
You gotta put it into this game. Like,
that's not the heart of a champion. That's not the eye of the tiger.
Yeah, I feel like we're focused on Clemson too much, which I love, but
bro, I tried to get I tried to get 2 South Carolina reps here this week. I've never had one on the podcast outright. They bailed. And a Notre Dame.
They bailed? Are they still celebrating?
No. You know how life goes, and I didn't exactly plan this out that far ahead. I'm trying to schedule things based on what happens the weekend before. I don't think anybody really expected South Carolina to win. In fact, it seemed like most South Carolina fans, the team thought they had a chance, but it still took Georgia screwing up pretty bad on their own right. Look, this is what I was saying before. Trevor Lawrence, in particular, just made a bunch of mistakes against North Carolina. Hadn't been flawless all year. The O-line has not been great. Everybody looked like, this past weekend against Florida State at home, like what we kind of expected them to look like every week against way inferior competition. That doesn't mean that North Carolina isn't good. Clemson should be looking this good. It's okay to celebrate it. It's okay to suggest they should be number one. Say that, but don't get mad at anybody else who suggests otherwise, right?
Right.
That's all. But South Carolina, I don't think anybody, like I said, even when it was happening, it didn't sound like it was going to actually look. Okay, let's put it this way. I was at Fall for Greenville, and I talked about this on the podcast last week. It was such a great Saturday. So many big, huge games, including rivalry games, were going on Saturday, and I've seen it happen before. You and I were at Fall for Greenville before. That was another Tennessee fan. They sound like crap. We were at Fall for Greenville watching. Do you remember the game that we watched at Fall for Greenville a few years ago?
A few years ago.
It was 2015 or 16. Oh, it was 26. I think it was 2016. We watched it at Mac's Speed Shop, which was
the NC State.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
the NC State game
the
where
missed field
NC
goal
State
that
kicks
kept
the
us in
field
it.
goal to beat Clemson, but Dabo called a timeout to ice the kicker, and they go into overtime. NC State proceeds to throw an interception, and Clemson wins. But do you remember how the cloud would erupt for when it went into overtime? That happened a bunch for this Georgia game. A bad flag, a missed field goal going into the first overtime, South Carolina missing a kick, Blankenship for Georgia missing 2 kicks in this game. Look, I couldn't tell you the last time he ever missed a kick. He certainly didn't miss anything against Alabama in the last 4 years. That guy's and don't forget this either. I mean, the Georgia's still great. They have the potential to be elite, but they did not play to their standard against South Carolina at home. Clemson didn't play to their standard for sure against North Carolina, but you're right. Thank God they got away with a win. I say got away with. Thank God it was a win, period, because it would definitely be a bigger problem for Clemson, not because of what they're capable of, but because of their potential schedule and everybody else looking so strong. Again, we're probably going to have Ohio State, an SEC champion, and Clemson be undefeated. That's 3 teams going undefeated again. And potentially Oklahoma, we might have 4 outright, which makes it real easy. But had you lost, it's really, really not that easy anymore to control your own destiny. But with that said, Blankenship, who was so good, missed 2 field goals in this game. Don't forget why we have the playoff, Dave. We have the playoff because of that, 2012 rematch for the national championship game between Alabama and LSU. The rematch was because Alabama's best kicker of all time, in my opinion, missed 5 field goals, including 3 in the red zone, for a 9-6 loss on the road, right?
Thrilling SEC football right there.
Bama's kicking sucks out loud right now, okay? They missed another extra point this weekend. They actually hit a field goal that hit the upright and went in, which is rare for anybody, but certainly rare for Alabama because another field goal didn't come anywhere near the goalpost at all. I'm kind of surprised Nick Saban didn't go for it more on 4th down. We'll talk about Alabama in a minute. But Blankenship was that guy for them. He just never missed. And had he made, he had the game-winning field goal and missed it, and it literally cost them the game twice. And I'm not trying to throw that guy under the bus, but it's like, that's why we're judging them like this? Is that why we did the same thing to Clemson?
No, but
what I want to see is them absolutely destroy everybody else now, because now they're pissed because this was not their best game, but it cost them huge.
But they also, it's not all on the kicker because it never should have come down to that. They
right.
had like 4 turnovers.
That's my point.
Some of them were a little, out of their control, I guess. But
that 2012 Alabama team, in my opinion, was the best one. Don't forget, that was the year, that spring, where the tornado ripped through Tuscaloosa and cut it in half. That team had motivation. That team had energy. That team beat every other team except for LSU on the schedule by more combined points than any other team that Alabama has had that has won the national championship, including with Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Hurts. That team was definitive, but that one game is the one that we remember, and that's the one team that you're kind of not allowed to say that you celebrate, was the rematch game against LSU. Again, that's why we have the playoff. Make no mistake. Without it, we needed another catalyst to create it. Georgia missing 2 field goals to lose the game against South Carolina at home isn't that catalyst. It's not going to bring expansion or anything, but it's hard not to ignore because of what Clemson just went through with North Carolina and because of the fact that Georgia maybe still controls its own destiny outright, period. We've talked too much about all of that stuff. I'm going to get back real quick Bowling Green State University beats Toledo. The battle for Northwest Ohio is over, folks. Toledo, you've had a nice run, but it's time for the Falcons, baby. Go Falcons! I've had so much fun up at Bowling Green when I lived in Cincinnati with my buddy Brad. He was up there. And that was back when Urban Meyer was a coach there, too, at Bowling Green. They've had some success then, including beating Tennessee, which is why I brought it up at all, because I know you all want to hear about the Falcons, but I'm having fun. When Cincinnati wins, I celebrate that, too. So get your own podcast. With that said, LSU, Florida. Florida played competitively for a good half with another quarterback. Is it their third guy, or I don't even know anymore. But LSU is legitimately finally coming to the 21st century on offense. I think people might be overgrading Joe Burrow, but he's rated the number one passer for QBR in the country, which I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. I'm just saying this scheme changed everything for them. Look, a lot of people said Jalen Hurts couldn't throw. I think that was and Tua Tagovailoa didn't throw as good too. I think that was largely because of Brian Daboll and the game plan that they had that season. Bringing in Joe Brady changed the quarterback's coach, and basically kind of the offensive pseudo coordinator for LSU has changed everything for them. And therefore, the Tigers in the fake Death Valley, I don't like them either, beat Florida at home 42-24, I think. How'd you feel about that one, Dave? And LSU jumps to number 2 or number 1, depending on what poll you're looking at. So number 2 undefeated teams play each other who have played other undefeated ranked teams, and that's it.
Going back a couple weeks, I thought that Florida was going to struggle with Auburn a bit, actually. This is me kind of seeing a little bit and listening to a lot. So
I thought Auburn was going to beat them.
My first problem. I thought it was at least going to be a struggle. I thought Florida was maybe a little overrated. I kind of still felt that way coming into this game to an extent, but at the same time, I was like, hey, if they've been overrated, LSU perhaps has been just as overrated. This is going to be really interesting. And, it started out looking pretty even, and then by the end of it, I think there's pretty clear separation. But there's no doubt that, LSU is a pretty explosive offense, but can they really play enough defense to beat a team that can put up as many points as Burrow?
Like Alabama? Because they're on the schedule. I don't see another team on the schedule quite like it.
That's going to be a really interesting game in the future.
Both teams are struggling a bit on defense. That doesn't define them the way it did before. Like literally last year. Mm-hmm. Just doesn't. It's interesting. Okay, enough about LSU and Florida. Are there any other games that you want to go over last week? Ohio State had a bye week. So they should have played Tennessee, but whatever.
Well, I just want to kind of parlay the South Carolina, Georgia into what's going on this week.
Please do.
With South Carolina, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about this game?
First of all, before we completely leave South Carolina, Georgia, you saw them chewing on the hedges, right? They ripped apart. You have to trim hedges anyway. They're hedges. That's what you do with hedges. So it's not like they destroyed them. They didn't poison the hedges, right? It's kind of in good fun. I get that you're disrespected, Georgia, but you got disrespected way worse on your own home turf by South Carolina, who isn't necessarily all that bad, but didn't deserve on their own right to win this game. You screwed up.
Have you ever seen when Georgia has a big win and the big drunk girls try to jump onto the field and fall through those hedges? I mean, they've been through worse.
Yeah, and people steal stems from Georgia fans. I mean, there's definitely been worse. It's not a measure of respect. Here's the point I'm getting at.
Anybody in the audience out there, go look up a video of people trying to get over the hedges at a celebration.
They destroy them.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, those hedges are strong.
They're really drunk. They're falling face first through the bush.
Wait a second. Drunk Georgia fan?
No.
It's not like they have a song without it. Oh, wait. There's that. Drunk obnoxious Georgia fan running through the window. Wait, that's
from
not
my
it, is it?
personal experience, by the way,
Go on.
And this is probably only because I've never been to a game in South Carolina, because they would throw batteries
Columbia?
and water bottles at me.
Oh, yeah.
But, being to a Clemson game at Georgia, the worst fans. I'm sorry. I have family members that love Georgia. When I look at it through their eyes, it's so wholesome and wonderful.
What? No, they don't.
My experience going to Athens.
Yeah.
Total trash. Hate them.
Hate them. Okay. Well, you're gonna get to play them here in a couple of years, right? Home and away.
Yep.
When is that? 2022? Or is it? I don't remember. It doesn't matter.
I don't remember. Yeah.
We're not prepared. So just keep that in mind. Look, the reason why I bring it up is because everything that South Carolina just did. Number one, don't freak out, Georgia fans. It's not that big of a deal. Your hedges will be okay. Number two, what it really does, it gave all those Georgia players for the next year and the next year and the next year video for hate. And they're going to play that video. Georgia feeds off this stuff. We assume Clemson does, but we don't necessarily know. And my whole thing with that is that Dabo hasn't consistently preached towards that direction. He kind of consistently preaches against that direction. Like, play up to your opponent. Don't use all this extra stuff for negative energy, in spite of the fact that, like I said before, that's kind of what he did this week.
But he's got the Roy bus thing
going
on.
And I don't like that. Wasn't his idea, but he was sure willing to hitchhike on it. You know what I mean? and again, that's something that defines your culture, so I get it. Georgia will use this as fuel for next year. When Georgia goes into Columbia, what you don't realize when you're having that much fun chewing on bark is that you're burying yourself for Georgia next year, right? They're going to be angry. And good. I'd love to see it. It's too bad we couldn't see that this weekend. That's all. I'm kind of done. You got anything else for this weekend? Alabama crushes A&M. The score made it look like A&M was more competitive. The refs were really bad. Tua took another really, really bad late hit. Devontae Smith won't play this weekend against the Lady Vols because he punched a guy. After that guy suplexed him, choked him, and punched him, Devontae Smith, and I want to say this real quick. I understand his anger. I understand Nick Saban suspending him. This is an internal suspension for a game. It sucks. It stings. But Texas A&M was getting real dirty. We've seen it before. But in particular, Devontae Smith, everybody kind of said they forgot about him, right? Why? Because last year he was hurt. Do you remember how he got hurt last year, Dave?
A&M, I'm guessing?
No.
The Lady Vols?
It was against Missouri. He's on the ground, tackled out of bounds, and this guy takes his ankles and rolls over. It was a violent, disgusting play, and it ripped his hamstring apart. It took him out for the season. That's why we forgot about him, because he got injured on a dirty play. I'm not trying to get mad at Missouri. My point here is that I think everybody treats Alabama differently, and they're starting to do it with Clemson too. I don't think Clemson has necessarily the competition who can actually threaten to create injury, but I just said it about Missouri. Would you have considered them elite? They took Devontae Smith out on the ground last year. We see this stuff, and I want to try not to sound like too much of an Alabama homer here, but when Alabama has that kind of success, playing more bye-week teams than anybody else in the country, which is a new limit for the low, which is 8, not 9, okay, which Alabama used to play 9, and the NCAA made it 8. That doesn't include cupcakes either. And these teams are playing like this, which we see every single year. The late hit that I just mentioned against Tua didn't get called, and I'm not calling out the refs. I'm saying they were kind of bad overall. But what I also wanted to suggest, the score was sort of disproportionate in relation to the refs. So flags that were not necessarily legitimate became determinant, right? They gave Texas A&M a first down in the red zone for basically another go-ahead score, or they turned the ball over, that sort of thing. But this sort of hit, I don't want to see anybody. I don't want to see that happen to a Tennessee quarterback, right? But you don't have people trying to do that against Tennessee. Hopefully we do this weekend. No, I'm just kidding. I don't actually want that at all, so I shouldn't say that. Yeah, that's terrible. I haven't seen it against Clemson.
I forgive you, Greg.
Thank you. I hope we don't. Like, I sort of am afraid that you don't pull Trevor and guys like Trevor. Trevor sort of stands alone like Tua. You got to protect that guy. You know, Trevor said in the offseason he was trying to get tougher, and Jay Spivey was like, it's because he wants to run more. You have to scream and shout at that guy not to run more at all, to deliberately design plays for him so he doesn't scramble, right? Throw the ball away. Got knocked out against Syracuse because he was running for a first down, lost his balance. Not because he was sacked, not because he was throwing the ball away. Boise State's quarterback has taken a punishment all year. And this weekend against Hawaii, which was brilliantly called by Roy Philpott, formerly at WCCP. I love Roy Philpott. I watch games because I know
Shout out to Roy Philpott.
I love Roy Philpott. I love listening to him call games. I also love the Mountain West. I love Hawaii. So this was kind of a match made in heaven, but don't tell anybody. So I watched it alone. It's one of those games that you can't watch live, whatever. It is a great game. I digress. The quarterback can't stop. He can't get rid of the ball fast enough. He's a freshman, a true freshman. He beat Florida State in week 1, and ever since then, he doesn't get rid of the ball enough and takes these hits. He hurt his back. I haven't really researched what actually went wrong, or if he's out, or if he's injured, whatever.
Yeah, he'll be out for 1 to 3 weeks. From what I hear.
That sucks, and that's what you hopefully are preventing for guys like Trevor and Tua.
His backup, I hear, didn't miss a step. I didn't see it, but
they were already
well.
up on
They
Hawaii.
played well, still beat them.
That's another one of those games that I can't convince people to watch.
Well,
but
the problem
if you
is
missed it, then you missed it because it was great.
And I hate to keep going back to Clemson, but that's my wheelhouse.
I don't. No. That's why I got you here, Dave. It's our podcast right now.
I mean, that was in the spring game. Dabo's like, we want him to keep plays alive longer and scramble and be good with his feet. Not necessarily to run, although they've clearly done more of that. The first touchdown of the season was a Trevor Lawrence run.
Yep.
But, yeah, I mean, they want him to be able to scramble because it's that much more dangerous, especially with the talent we have in wide receivers.
It's true.
And, I mean,
it's a big risk. That's my point.
I get it, but, you know.
This guy lowered his helmet, put it into his throwing arm, had 3 steps, and was unobstructed.
I watched Deshaun Watson win a championship after getting spun in the air like a helicopter prop. Like, it was ridiculous.
That kind of energy on defense from Alabama, frankly, we haven't seen since. That was 3 years ago, Dave.
But it
was terrific.
It's just kind of the strategy. We like quarterbacks that can run a little bit, and that's been the success so far. Like, Kelly Bryant was the running without the throwing.
Well, I'm not saying he can't. My point is, I'm saying he can, and he's not afraid to. Right? You have to curve it.
Yeah,
your agent.
I know.
Has to curve
I know what you're saying.
Your future has to curve it.
You surely don't want him to get injured. But back to we're talking about South Carolina, Georgia, and then
I know how much you want to talk about South
Carolina.
Go ahead.
Coming up to Florida this week. Great. That's a great little win you guys had, South Carolina.
Oh, here we go. Let him have it. Close.
Let's come back to reality a little bit, okay? You beat Georgia. That was amazing. Nobody thought you would do it. It was fantastic. Before that happened, everyone thought Georgia was one of the untouchable teams in the country, even above Clemson. But I mean, my hope for the Gamecocks is that they don't let this get to their head too much, because I've heard Gamecock fans who just a week ago were talking about the world coming to an end, firing the whole staff, everything else.
Really?
Now they say, "Oh, hey baby, there's still hope.
Hey,
we could still take the East." I'm like, "Whoa, slow your roll, fellas." And if
I guess they can.
And if these players are thinking this way, all right, yes.
I mean, I doubt it. I highly doubt it.
I'm looking
and don't
at
forget,
right
this was South Carolina's 3rd string quarterback. So Georgia made a lot of mistakes.
It is wild. The weird thing is that Missouri has played 1 less game than everyone else in conference. Wait, 2 less games? 2 less games?
What are you looking at? What does
They've
it
only played
say?
2 in conference.
Yeah, that's all it is.
They're 2-0. So,
but we knew that going into this season, they were going to go basically into week 8 before they played Georgia, and before then we didn't think they'd have a loss. And they lost to Wyoming.
And obviously they're banned from postseason anyway, so you take them out of the picture.
Well, that's under review. So
is it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I heard they couldn't even play an SEC championship.
They can't, but they put in a bid with the NCAA to have it reviewed. And I think if they end up being in that position, that the NCAA will, I don't want to say cave, because it benefits everybody, but I don't think they want to if they don't have to. And again, that might sound like a conspiracy. I just think it's a good plan to help avoid drama. If they look, Missouri might compete to win the East, Dave, and then you have a real problem. If you hold them out because of that from last year with the players who had nothing to do with this penalty, that's an even bigger problem. And I think the NCAA will change their mind. We'll see, but yeah, it's pending right now.
That's true. That could get very interesting.
You remember Netflix when you were waiting for that Harry Potter DVD to come in? That's what it is, okay? If once everybody's seen it, or like it's out for free on iTunes or something, then you'll get it. Until then, no, it's not happening.
Well, but I mean, come on.
Come on.
South Carolina 2-2, Georgia's 2-1 with the loss to you. Florida is 3-1. If you beat them this week, which is highly doubtful, then they're still ahead of you again. I just don't see how this gets any better.
Yeah, it probably doesn't.
So
Don't tell me, tell them.
Oh, I'm telling them. I'm saying slow your roll, fans. Enjoy your moment. Pray that you make a bowl game. Controlling the East. Come on. Let's be real. This is a fluke. Georgia played a terrible game. Y'all played very well, and it even had mistakes, and we're down to your third string quarterback and everything else. The stars aligned is what I'm saying. I think I'm sorry to be a hater, but obviously I have to. Because
it's fine, buddy. Tennessee hate week. You can hate whatever you want, buddy.
I mean, Carolina, I hope you do win some games. I think App State's even going to be a big challenge for you. Obviously, that's not part of the SEC East, but just slow your roll and pray that your players aren't just like high off of the pesticides from the hedges in Georgia, and that they can actually focus and put a good game up against Florida. Because if Florida does have some problems, and they stumble like Georgia did.
No.
I mean, just like Clemson did with North Carolina. We were able to pull it out.
Yep.
Even though Georgia couldn't. But, it could happen. I'm just saying, slow your roll. Fans, slow your roll. Be happy that something good happened. Players, not that any of you are going to listen to what I have to say, but y'all better just be prepared.
You'd be surprised how many of them
It's going to be a good game.
A lot of one-star reviews out there, Dave. I'm not kidding. Nobody likes me. They pick one thing I say, and then it gets really bad. It's fun. I don't care. I don't do it for them. I do it for you. I do it for me. So now
you know who else has a lot of one-star reviews?
No.
Paul Feinbaum.
I don't.
Clemson players. That's all I'm saying about that. Carry on.
No. It's no. I kind of want to go up from there. I don't watch Paul Feinbaum. I don't have the SEC network.
Either.
I have ESPN so that I can watch college football games, but that doesn't mean, and Formula One, but that doesn't mean I watch much of either. I try to.
Formula Uno.
Formula Uno. Le Grand Prix de compétition de l'Italien.
I watch it while I eat the crepes.
That's it. Michelin, il faut ça. Look. So I don't watch SportsCenter. I don't watch all these hot take shows. I certainly don't listen to Feinbaum. I love radio. I've said that a lot before. Feinbaum on the radio has so many commercials and some supremely toxic takes. I just think it's smart radio. I'm not saying it's bad radio. It's entertaining. I don't enjoy it. I don't think it's a positive way or effective way for people to think, act, feel, and behave.
No, it's the audio version of clickbait.
I listen to a lot of WCCP because I think it's been traditionally some of the best radio that you can get out there for sports coverage, in spite of the fact that it's I say obviously. WCCP 105.5, The Roar, you can get it online, stream it right now for free. It took a long time to get the streaming for free. It took 2 more national champions to get it, and we finally got out on Android, and I listen every day. And I want to talk to you real quick about WCCP. I probably listen to WCCP, I say probably, certainly more than I watch SportsCenter. Or I don't listen to Feinbaum at all, but I get some Feinbaum because of WCCP talking about it. People, hosts, callers, whatever. It becomes a part. I can't avoid it. You can't avoid it. It's like Ariana Grande or Britney Spears. If she has a pop song, it's going to be on at the gas station when you're filling up at QT or Spink stations, right? It's not because I listen to it on Spotify. Right?
It does.
It's the same thing with Feinbaum. I can't believe how often we take the damn bait from Feinbaum that he gives us. That dude is smart. He knows what he's doing. He trips everybody's triggers all the time. This guy, Paul Feinbaum, is a weird-looking guy with crazy huge ears who knows how to write. He's a good orator. My point is he doesn't exactly have to care about how he looks. Like, he's never been that guy who once lost his looks, right? Or something, right? Where he was once super popular and everything went away. The guy had a huge catalyst for one really bad Alabama fan doing something completely stupid, illegal, immoral, and wrong, and calling Paul Feinbaum's show to talk about it. I'm not saying Paul Feinbaum doesn't deserve his success. I'm saying he doesn't necessarily deserve all your energy that you're giving him to be angry at. That's all. I really don't. And I see a lot of this happen on WCCP, and The only reason why I bring it up is because I've seen it before. I've seen when Clemson won the first national championship under Dabo Swinney 3 years ago, the response was not the same. And when I say the response, I mean the cultural response, the leadership of the culture. Guys like Mickey Plyler on the radio who weren't so furious so often about so many things. And I love Mickey Plyler. What I was going to ask you is what shows you typically listen to. I catch the tail end of Mickey Plyler. I miss Zach Orr, Mr. Orr 24, who Mickey Plyler could not stop saying. Last week I had...
yeah, dude. I miss that guy.
I was literally going to say Clemson Morgan on there, but I think he would laugh at that. Morgan Thomas, who has a great YouTube channel. He's not directly affiliated with anything except that he does have a show on WCCP now in Ellis Tolbert, 4th and 16. Do you listen to Ellis?
Mm-hmm. I've heard that a few times too.
That dude does deep dives that I can't do. You didn't want to be on here because I think you assumed that I talk like Ellis. Ellis is not for everybody. Ellis is for people like me, so I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to deep dive. I can't. I just don't want to. It's tough. It's work, and he does the work. Anyway, I digress.
But as far as WCCP though, I catch some of Mickey in the morning on the way to work, and I miss Zach Orr like crazy too.
I love Zach Orr.
Brad and Ben is once I get to work and when I'm first trying to focus. So I usually, if I catch anything, it's if I take an early lunch.
The press box.
And then
I listen to more of the press box than any other program by nature.
I listen to Quack and Kelly for like 30 minutes to an hour.
It's where I hear Chris Fowler calling that game-winning touchdown with Hunter Renfrow every single day.
And then I hear Walt on the way home for a little bit. I enjoy all those guys. And sometimes when I hear those little snippets, I'll go and pick up, like an old podcast. I haven't figured out how to do it on the app to find specific podcasts, but online at work, I can click on like
talking to the right guy.
Hour.
I'll help you.
I'll
show you after we record.
But I enjoy those guys, and I've certainly learned a lot from it. I think, though, as far as responding to everything that's happened, and responding to things that Feinbaum says and whatever else,
it's
like
defending.
You just
don't like it,
right? I see where you're coming from with that, but you just, you don't really have a lot to talk about sometimes, especially with the not necessarily exciting games that we've got going on.
I know what you mean, but the thing is that we've done it. Like I said, we've done this before and didn't have the same response. So when Paul Feinbaum says something and you think it's crazy, you go, "Oh, that's crazy." But let me tell you why it doesn't matter.
I think the fans.
In week 0, I said when the first official college football playoff rankings come out, it's almost certain because of schedule alone that no matter how good Clemson is doing, they're not going to be ranked number 1. Because of the competition, because if these other teams are also undefeated, that they will have a better resume, and the committee has shown that they consistently reward those kinds of performances.
Yeah.
So you can't get upset. But these meaningless polls that we're furious about, I wish that these guys were responding the way they were 3 years ago, saying, guys, this doesn't matter. Now, again, this is their job, so I'm not saying that I even know why they're doing it. I just wish there was more of a response for saying, it doesn't matter, and here's why, and this is the best possible time. Clemson put an exclamation point this weekend against Florida State on how good they really are. I think they needed it. I think we all needed it, but we're not acting like we just saw it. This was the best possible thing. This is as good as it gets. This was an elite-level win against a bad Florida State team. Yeah, I hear you, but this was a team like Ohio State who's been competing at their best standard. They've been doing it. The execution has been near flawless. I say has been. It was this weekend, and you it's disproportionate the way we react to other things versus respond to some of the best football you can see out there. Period.
It's true, and the first year was after we had almost beaten Alabama before, and I was like, wow, we're really right here at the top.
Almost. I hate to interrupt, but that was. And then what really bugged me about that one was Clemson was the better team. Was it Mackenzie Alexander that got hurt?
I don't even recall. We had two
the guy
guys
that would have been guarding O.J.
too.
Howard,
right?
Who was dropping balls left and right in college and is doing it again in the pros. And we all acted like he was great because he was wide open and was catching everything against Clemson in that game. It wasn't because of him.
But it was just
Alexander.
It was just that it took us so long to get to that point, and then we were so close, and we're like, oh man, we're right there, and then we did it, and then now we've done it again. And I think the fans are just kind of like, that I feel like across the college landscape, the default is, well, Alabama's amazing. and they get the benefit of the doubt no matter what. And Clemson doesn't necessarily get that.
I think they
even
would.
though they should at this point.
No, I think they do, and I think they would get that everything that my point is this: I think they would be getting everything that Alabama's getting if they were doing what Alabama's doing, and they aren't. And we have to be real, sincere, and honest about it. Just like Coach Sweeney. Look, like I said, I'd never seen him angry before. This dude was pissed for the better part of a week, right? And he still didn't seem happy. Look, you heard the press conference.
Yeah.
That dude was back to his normal self, but he's still got some of it in him, right? Trevor Lawrence, in particular, was not having his best season ever as his first season from start to finish as a starter. Tua Tagovailoa, on the other hand, because you mentioned Alabama, hasn't really had that many problems. He finally threw an interception. Finally, this is week 7, where it took him having a problem with communication with Jerry Jeudy, where he chewed him out, and then it looked like he was committed to getting a touchdown to Jerry Jeudy and threw it across the middle when he was baited to do it. Right, to get that interception. Tua has been playing incredible football. Trevor hasn't, and that's okay because he's capable of it, and he just did it against Florida State. I expect him to keep doing it. Maybe this is what we needed, and I say we, the team, Clemson, the team. But you have to appreciate the difference. It's not benefit of the doubt crap anymore. It's also relative competition. Look, Texas A&M is the same team, and Alabama played them on the road. A&M scored more points, and again, that's not necessarily determinant of how good they are. A lot of it came on some crap. But they beat them by more points. Again, doesn't necessarily determine eliteness. They're both elite. So trying to compare the rest of it doesn't matter, especially when enough teams have lost that if you just stay
and later
elite,
in the season where you get things rolling,
you outright control your own destiny. The problem is, this is how we should behave if we didn't have a playoff. Maybe if Clemson won out this year because we didn't have a playoff and didn't go to the national championship game, it would be enough of a catalyst to create the playoff. That it took missing 5 field goals on the road and a 9-6 loss for Alabama to do it in a rematch win with 1 touchdown against LSU. That's why we got the playoff. I don't know that this would have done it at all. But we don't care anymore, do we? Oh, yeah, we do. But we shouldn't. Because it just happened. This is what I'm getting at. We've talked too much about last week. Clemson's going on the road to play at Louisville. Louisville just scored 62 points. That's a basketball score, Dave.
Yep.
Do you expect them to score half that hosting Clemson this weekend? Louisville's a run-first team. Clemson knows how to stop the run. They're still angry. They're still elite. What do you think is going to happen? Anything other than murder? Me either. Go on.
I can't even remember who Louisville was playing. Who did they play?
Louisville played, was it Wake Forest? So they eliminated, eliminated. They gave Wake Forest their first loss.
Well, yeah, and Wake is another high-scoring offense.
Great. It was the only other undefeated team in the ACC, and now there's none.
Yeah, first of all, well, Virginia was undefeated, but they lost
as well. That was 3 weeks ago, bro. Yeah, they lost on the road at Notre Dame, yep. Mm-hmm.
Well,
your math is good, Padawan. Jedi Master.
I guess
Jedi
I was
Knight?
thinking just ACC. Anyway, but yeah, look, Wake Forest can put up a lot of points. We know that. They could put up a lot of points last year. When we played them, they didn't put up a lot of points.
No, sir. Stadium's weird.
Obviously, slightly different defense. Some would say our secondary is better than it was. So as far as big scoring plays,
I say the secondary is a secret weapon. It was a secret weapon last year, and nobody's talking about them like they're great. Florida's got a great secondary because they keep competing and keep making these plays. So is Clemson. Like they've been consistently.
I'm just saying if we've lost, people want to say we've lost people from the line. That's true, but the secondary is far more experienced than it was last year. We've got some new studs
and having good results.
So
Florida State's points came against the second team on defense, right? That was after Clemson was up 42-0.
And I don't know the exact stats, but I'm pretty sure Clemson's defensive line has been doing fairly well against the run.
No. Very good against the run outright.
Okay.
Look, I thought Clemson wouldn't be able to score so many points because Dalvin Cook alone would be. I'm sorry.
Dalvin Cook.
Good grief. I'm sorry. I missed when Florida State was a little bit more competitive. Right. I don't like to see any team be this bad. They're a bad football team, Dave. Right. But Cam Akers is the running back for me. And he couldn't get anything done, right? they've thrown to him before. They didn't really try any of that much this weekend. Nobody's really running well against Clemson at all outright. The pressure that Clemson's bringing, Brent Venables has been doing his job for sure, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so is Dabo Swinney. Again, I hate to just throw Trevor under the bus, but we all kind of did, and it looks like it's worked. And that's for everybody's benefit, because nobody wants to see Trevor Lawrence, I don't think, unless you're a rival. I don't think anybody wants to see him struggle. I think more people want to see him perform at his best, including against bad teams, but nobody was really watching that second half against Florida State. Look, I was at the Ink and Ivy. Thank you for coming. So half of it upstairs was Clemson watching Florida State. The other side was Bama in the upstate. So this local Bama group gets together, and they watch the Alabama games there. But they had invited the local Texas A&M group. So literally the Alabama fans are watching with the Texas A&M fans. And it was kind of, I've seen it before, and I really think it's cool how groups can get together like that and have a good time. I remember when South Carolina beat Alabama a few years ago. What was it, 2011, I'm sorry. South Carolina fans are fun to be around when they win when they don't expect to. Like, they're not dicks about it, right? Like Tennessee, you know why I hate them so much? Because when they beat us, when they used to beat us real bad, they were not nice about it. And, you get it. You deserve it. But that was the team I used to fear, legitimately. And that was the team that Bear Bryant taught me growing up anyway. That's the team you want to beat. I mentioned before he gave him a cigar. You also used to give him a ring. Like a ring, like you won a championship. Again, that would literally be an impermissible benefit. You would be fired. You couldn't do anything, as if that was why you went to Tennessee.
Yes.
Because first of all, it's Tennessee.
Go on.
And I just hate them because they low down.
Yeah.
They dirty.
They dirty.
Some snitches. And I hate Philip Foreman. I hate their colors. I'm not a dog person.
I like orange.
I just hate Tennessee, man. Like, and I hate Neyland Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a garbage truck worker convention. And I hate all their quarterbacks.
I don't even know this guy. Where'd you come from?
Tennessee, man.
How do you feel about orange?
It's not that orange that you can stand. See, I hate Tennessee more than I hate Auburn. I just dislike Auburn. I hate Tennessee. See, Tennessee's colors is that throw-up orange. It's not that orange that you can sit with.
Like Clemson?
Puke inside of a pumpkin orange. And I don't like pumpkins. So I really don't like Tennessee, man. I can't stress that enough, man. And they losers. They sore losers because they're not Alabama, and I hate Tennessee.
I was with him for
Thank you for being with us, Mayor Knox White. That was
Yes.
very nice for you to be.
I was
no,
with
that's
him
not
for-
Knox White.
I was with him for every point except I'm not a dog person. He lost me a little bit there,
Okay, yeah, I'm a dog person too.
but
Well, tell the listening
I feel
audience
that
what's your dog's name?
his name is Watson.
Watson. Where'd
He's
that come
striped
from?
like a tiger.
So you're a big Sherlock Holmes fan?
That's it.
You love Sir Arthur Conan Doyle enough to
Actually-
name your dog after the sidekick to his main character?
Actually, I'm a big fan of, really in-depth quadro computing. I just made that word up. I don't even know.
Did you really?
I'm talking about IBM Watson.
Oh.
No.
Oh, God.
No, it's not
Yeah,
that.
mine was way better.
No, it's Deshaun Watson. Yes.
Oh, Deshaun. Yeah, I remember that guy. That guy used to play at Clemson. He was pretty good.
There was a whole little feature on the TV above us there a minute ago about how well he's doing with the Texans. But I digress.
We haven't had a leader like that in the NFL for, I feel like, a long time. I say haven't had. We're having more now than ever. It's really, I never really paid much attention to the Texans before. I figure a lot of Clemson fans didn't either. He's a terrific representative of the sport. The guy is so smart, tough, fearless, and frankly talented, Dave. The dude knows what he's doing, and he's able to get it done.
Absolutely.
So often. Breaking records. He could potentially go on to be a Pro Bowler, Hall of Fame, all of that sort of stuff. I love to see, part of the reason why I point all this stuff out and why it bugs me so much, like people say, why do you get so mad at Clemson all the time? Aren't you supposed to be all in? Aren't you one of us? It's because we're taught better by coaches like Dabo Swinney who help craft guys like Deshaun Watson to become better, to be able to handle this stuff when their coaches aren't giving them those lessons now in the pros. Deshaun Watson is the guy leading, right? He's the lesson. He's teaching these guys in the press conference, including all of us. I just wish more of us were doing it, that's all. I've seen us do it. I don't think as many teams out there nearly even close to this level of how to think, act, feel, and behave better that Clemson gets from its leadership. And not just Dabo Swinney, not just Brent Venables, but Radakovich, every other. Brad Brownell, I think, is a terrific leader for young men, too, the Clemson basketball coach. Amanda Butler, did I get that right? I never remember these names when I'm doing the podcast. That's why I could tell you, you know me, I could tell you all the time. But
I think you're right about that. Sounds right.
Anyway.
Yes.
I celebrate that.
We
we celebrate when these 19 and 20-year-olds respond to those kinds of people, that kind of leadership, and those kinds of mistakes, and we don't do it ourselves. Here we are again, freaking the hell out about meaningless polls. Because
I'm not freaking out. Are you freaking out?
No, like I said, it's just
good.
disproportionate.
Gray zone is the chill zone. We're happy about it. Everything's gravy, baby.
Groovy gravy. You know what I do when I chill, when I'm really relaxed? Little Tennessee mating call.
So, what other games would you like to address this week, Gray?
Well,
we got
Alabama's
Florida,
got
South Carolina. Alabama's playing nothing.
Alabama has a bye week this week at 8 o'clock actually, it's going to be 9 o'clock Eastern. They're playing a cupcake. The University of Tennessee Volunteers at home.
That's right.
Tennessee Volunteers suck out loud. Tennessee had a win last week, and that's the nicest thing I've ever said about them.
What is...
My cartoon hate runs fiery free this week. Well, we've got game day is going to be for Michigan at Penn State. It's going to be a whiteout. That's another night game. If you didn't watch Tennessee play last week, good on you. I didn't watch them either. I don't care how they won. I don't want to know. You don't need to know. They still suck out loud. They're going to play Alabama. At the same time, Penn State's hosting Michigan. Penn State's way better than Michigan. But I can definitely understand if you don't want to watch Tennessee get their dicks kicked in at Alabama. We can say that, right? iTunes, don't censor us. It's Tennessee. Even Apple hates Tennessee. I think Penn State's just going to destroy Michigan, and that'll be that. Maybe that'll be enough to really start having serious talks about getting rid of Jim Harbaugh. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that Penn State has been performing. They've been getting better week to week. The competition means that not as many people have been paying attention. I'm really kind of surprised. I did not think Penn State looked this good in week one, but there's no hiding it now. They've been consistently putting up a ton of points, preventing a ton of points. Michigan has not done really either much consistently at all, including Illinois, sort of semi-struggle win with Illinois. Now you're going to Penn State in a whiteout. Look, Michigan is sort of the Tennessee of the Big Ten in that, like, you want to beat them however you can. Or I say Tennessee. You would say the same thing about Alabama, except that they're playing at a Tennessee level. You want to beat Michigan as bad as you can. And James Franklin is the kind of guy to beat him as bad as possible. I don't think he's a great leader, but he's certainly not bad for entertainment value when you're going for a win over a rival in your conference. How's your pick, Dave? Does that say the spread for Penn State, Michigan?
No, I'm not seeing a spread.
If I remember right, it was something
here.
like a score, like 7 points, maybe 6. And I think that's kind of ludicrous. So I'm all in on Penn State this week. Hail State.
Honestly, I mean, full disclosure, I know nothing about these two programs other than what I've heard. I've heard Penn State's been playing well. I've heard Michigan was super hyped up at the beginning of the year per usual, and they're not living up to it per usual.
That's another thing. This week, again, I think
your prediction about Harbaugh might be correct.
For all but one of the games that I can recall off the top of my head, Clemson and Alabama have played their respective opponents at the exact same time. So whatever side of the ball you're on, I'm not sure how much of an opinion you can actually have because you're not watching the whole game from beginning to end and seeing how it plays out. With that said, hopefully with that said, neither are many of the people who have votes in the coaches and AP polls. Mm-hmm. Again, what's the criteria for being in the AP? But Dave, do you know? For having a vote.
That you're a beat writer of some sort and you're covering a team.
You're making a joke, but there really isn't much of a criteria, right? It's not like it's written in stone.
I didn't know if that was a criteria. I wasn't
What
joking
about the coaches
either,
poll? Is that
but-
just the coaches in NCAA?
Well, whether
Dabo's watching
but
all
whether
the
it's
games?
right, whether it's coaches or a beat writer, like you're covering your team or you're involved with your team, and that's what you focus on. So, yeah, you can't really see a lot of it unless you're actually studying a team because you're about to play them.
Not just that you can't, but you're not asked to, right? It's not part
Right.
of the. It's not part of the curriculum. You're not. It's not a prerequisite. It is for the College Football Playoff Committee. The playoff committee watches the film. They watch these teams. They have to be accountable for their decisions and choices. We've never had that before. All these other polls, when you think about it that way, don't just matter less. They have less data. They have less behind them in the first place. They're so much less relevant. If you're ever mad at any of them, then shut the hell up and wait. Especially for teams undefeated. Especially for teams just played at an elite level and had a lot of fun doing it at home.
That noise was great, slamming his pen down out of anger.
Shattered it into a million pieces.
So you brought up the tradition of Alabama smoking cigars when they beat Tennessee.
Oh,
Lem-
Tennessee.
Let me bring up an even classier celebration that could take place if there's a huge upset this weekend. West Virginia at your boy Jalen Hurts, Oklahoma.
Oh.
What does West Virginia do when they win?
Burn couches.
They burn couches. They
Yeah.
don't burn tobacco. They burn couches.
They have
baby.
furniture stores.
Is that going to happen?
They have furniture stores that sell nothing but couches. I say nothing but couches. They sell lots of couches. But they have to have a disclaimer that these couches are not for burning. And it does not matter. There's a law in the city that you can't burn couches. And it does not matter to the Mountaineers. It doesn't matter to me either because I'm not going to be burning couches this weekend because they're not going to be
not,
Oklahoma.
they're
No. West Virginia has kind of dived. They're not a good team anymore at all. They're not even close. They might be a little bit competitive, but Oklahoma, with Jalen Hurts, they have some semblance of a defense, certainly more than they've had in the last 3 or 4 years. Oklahoma is really, really good. I like Oklahoma. I'm kind of rooting for them. Like I said before, I'm sort of semi-expecting Jalen Hurts to win the Heisman, or at least keep it in his own destiny. Again, Jalen Hurts transfers to Oklahoma, goes 13-0 for the first time in Big 12 history, like literally because they didn't have a championship game. How can you not give him the Heisman? Maybe there's some arguments for sure that are good, but we'll see. You just can't be mad about that. I'd be super happy about that. Give me another game going on this weekend that might be competitive. Ohio State's playing who? Do you know?
Ohio State.
Are they playing Clemson? No.
Are
No.
they playing?
What are you looking at?
Who's
Who's Furman playing?
I don't know. It's
Off
not,
the top of your
it's
head,
not on this
name
list.
one team with 0 wins.
Oof. I don't know.
I don't know. That
Tennessee.
Oh, God. Not deserves 0 wins, but has 0 wins. I think Colgate, Akron. Did Rice win this weekend? I don't know. What are you looking at?
Is Ohio State even playing this weekend?
They should be. They played last weekend. Or didn't play last weekend.
Good gravy.
You know what, Dave? I'm disappointed. All right. While you're doing that, let's play fill in the blank.
Northwestern
Oh, is it at home or on the road?
at Northwestern.
Oh, they're going to Chicago. Good for them. I hope they get to eat well and enjoy the city before they come back to Columbus because it's very much nicer than Columbus, in my opinion. Northwestern stands no chance. I love Harner Johnson. Hated to see him go. He's not good. Ohio State's going to destroy him, and nobody's going to care. And everybody's going to get mad because Northwestern sucks, and people aren't going to drop Ohio State to number 8. And that's okay. All right, fill in the blank. 15 and blank.
Oh.
Also looking for orange. You don't remember me talking about that?
Yes.
15 and orange?
I know.
Clemson
But
had
the
this
root
whole
of 15
campaign
and orange
on the
is 15
15th of the
and
month
0.
for every month before the season started. On the 15th of the month, you're supposed to wear your
Yeah,
orange.
and I did it, Gray.
You did it. I couldn't convince anybody to talk about it on the radio. I couldn't convince anybody to do it outside of you, so thank you. I did it every 15th of the month, and I had people ask me about it every single time. What's that about? Really? Yeah, 15. Anyway. All right, 4th and blank. 4th. Clemson related. 4th and
Fourth and
It's a little tricky. 4th and
15.
4th and 16.
16. I knew it.
You bandwagoner.
That was the Chase Bryce pass
Yes.
to keep us
No.
alive.
Was it Chase Bryce? No.
Wasn't
No,
that the
was
4th
years
and
ago.
16 against Syracuse last year?
Was that
4th
also
and
4th and 16?
That might
So
be
Hunter
what I had
Renfro?
wrong.
Okay, no,
4th and
that was
11.
years ago. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah,
Moving on.
whatever.
You bandwagoner.
Shut up, Graham. Not an encyclopedia of football.
Hunter blank.
Winfro.
Actually, we're looking for Johnson. Clemson transfer, Northwestern hosting Ohio State. Anyway. Blank Lawrence.
Dexter.
There you go. We would have accepted Trevor. Blank Sweeney.
Will Sweetie.
There you go. We would also accept Kathleen, and it says here Dabo. We would also accept Dabo.
Dabo. Never heard of him.
Just don't be like that. Pilsner blank.
Doughboy. Pilsner?
Savage. I was gonna say Urkel. That was just coming up with stuff off the top of my head because I thought whatever you were looking for, you would have found by now. What are you looking for, dude? What the hell's going on over there?
I'm just looking through the rest of the games going on this week.
Who's Boise State playing this week? Do you know? You don't know.
Boise State, they'll be at the bottom because they play at midnight. I don't know. You should really get a new producer for this show.
It's okay.
Hey, Georgia's playing Kentucky. There you go.
That's right. Oh, Kentucky, poor Kentucky. You're gonna get Georgia's revenge all over your face.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
that
wanna be that.
sounds messy.
Messy. You want messy? You go to Knoxville, son. The whole town is messy. It's the messy state. I gotta leave at Tennessee. I'm gonna lose about 8 pounds in 4 seconds.
How about Florida State, Wake Forest? Wake Forest has got to win that, right? I mean, they're going to win.
Is it at Wake Forest? Not that it matters, but
I think so.
Florida State's
Is Tennessee playing at Alabama?
yeah, but that doesn't
Then
matter
yes.
either.
No, I was
Florida
just
State's a bad
asking because of the
football team.
formatting of this.
Okay.
Boise State plays BYU.
Yeah, Tennessee comes to Tuscaloosa to worsen the smell of that beautiful town. Can't stand them. I don't want them. I want to be real careful with how bad I actually say I don't like them. But for a long time, they were, look, still, no team to date has beaten Alabama more than Tennessee. They were super competitive for a long time. It's just been a long time since they've been anywhere near that. And I celebrate every single one of those days. And Clemson fans, maybe just learn to hate Tennessee so that you can be more happy about all these bludgeoning wins like you just had against Florida State, because I'm having a blast.
Oregon, Washington. 12 versus 25
That's interesting.
at Washington.
Yep. Who you got in this one?
I got nobody.
Dave, take a gamble.
I'm gonna go Washington just for shits and giggles.
Really?
It's at Washington. Why not?
Because they're not the better team, and Oregon has something to prove, and Oregon's way better. And Oregon has a better mascot. It makes me laugh. He looks like Huey, Dewey,
Is it the
and Louie.
Nike swoosh?
No, it's the duck.
I know.
Okay, just making sure.
Some of the cheese gray.
You've never seen an Oregon game in your life.
Oh, yes, I have.
Did you hear about Marcus Mariota getting benched for Tennessee? Benched.
Well, I haven't heard of Tennessee
The
Titans.
The Titans.
doing anything, so it doesn't surprise me. Got to try something new, right?
Mm-mm.
No?
I'm trying to think. How bad does Tennessee suck? My nose is bleeding now.
Well, the reason, speaking of sucking, the reason, as Jay Spivey would say,
Oh.
that South Carolina beat Georgia this weekend,
Mm-hmm.
it's the same reason that Florida doesn't fall into the ocean,
No.
because Georgia sucks.
Because Georgia's, I like how you say it all nice. Because Georgia sucks.
Because they suck. I mean, it's just,
Because Georgia sucks.
it's not hateful, it's just a fact.
This is the week where you really kind of should say it, though, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it. I don't think Georgia sucks.
NC State, Boston College.
Boston College is out their quarterback again, which sucks. NC State's been kind of playing resurgent football, and nobody's talking about them because they're not elite. They're good. They're not elite. Is it at Boston College where Boston College kind of has an edge? I'm going to go with the Wolfpack on this one.
Yeah.
What are you going with?
I think I'm with you on that.
I'd still rather talk about the Ducks beating Washington. Oh, damn it, Dave. I was going to say something. Now I can't remember what it was. Crap. Oh, Memphis. Oh. Did you see the way they lost on the road at Temple?
No,
this game
I
was
didn't.
terrific. And
But I have enjoyed watching some Memphis games over
I
the
love
years.
Memphis. I love the American Athletic Conference. I love the American. You know it. And you're not watching enough of it. And if you miss this game, you miss something special. But the way it ended was off. If this had been a championship game or some sort of conference championship game or a big matchup game like we had with LSU and Florida and the way it ended, we would all be talking about it. Because Memphis threw a 4th down conversion and they called it incomplete. They reviewed it on film, and you're watching it in super slow-mo, high def, and it's real clear. This guy catches the ball, never touches the ground, and the refs confirm the pass is incomplete and the game is over. And it cost them their first loss of the season. And it's disgusting. It makes me sick. I don't dislike Temple at all. I loved when Matt Rule was there.
Well, look, I also talked all my trash about the Carolina-Florida game, but what's your opinion on it?
South Carolina and Florida?
Yeah.
Florida's going to bury them.
Just no chance, right?
I think, first of all, South Carolina, again, with their 3rd-string quarterback, isn't
Fresh blood.
certainly
Might
not
be a
better
good
than
thing.
Georgia. They beat them because they were playing with energy. One guy made 3 interceptions, right? You also had on the other side of the coin, one guy who never misses field goals, missed 2 of them that would have won the game with either one, and you just take a knee, and that's it. Not to mention Jake Fromm not having his best day. Not to mention Kirby Smart not having his best plan. Not to mention
Does Kirby Smart ever have his best plan?
This was not on him. I've heard a lot of people blame him for several things, and yeah, they probably should have asked Blankenship to try to kick the 58-yarder after they got a false start penalty, if I remember right, to back him up even further. Instead, they went for it, which was, I would say, boneheaded just because Blankenship, number 1, can kick that field goal, and number 2, if he misses, it doesn't matter. And number 3, you're almost certainly not going to make a conversion now with that amount of time remaining. I guess that was the plan. So it's not bad coaching this time. Look, last year against LSU on the road, that was bad coaching. They refused to throw the ball. This time, Jake Fromm threw the ball 51 times. And again, the same guy caught the ball 3 times. He threw one really bad pass that was intercepted. That was supposed to be going out of bounds. The other 2, it looked like there was ill communication between him and his receivers, right? The route was wrong. And the guy who intercepted, I can't remember his name because it's hard to say, but you know who I'm talking about. He had to lay flat out to catch those 2 interceptions, right? One of them was easy. The other 2 were not easy. They were super athletic. And you happen to be in that position to make that. That's not going to happen against Florida, right? If it does, great. I'll celebrate it. I would be sincerely surprised, especially in particular because Florida's now coming off a loss where they were competitive for a full half on the road at LSU. That boosts you up. That makes you excited. This was their 3rd-string guy, his first time as a starter, and he was balling out, man. He looked terrific. I say terrific. He looked just as good as anybody else they've had start their quarterback this season.
So
I don't think South Carolina stands a chance.
So this game is at Williams-Brice.
Okay.
If they're losing after they're on this high cloud of winning over Georgia this week,
Well, okay.
over under, how many batteries / water bottles are going to get thrown at Florida players?
I don't know. I think it's kind of back to expectations if that happens. Let's put it this way, though. What happens if they win?
So over,
What happens if we're all
over
wrong?
20?
Florida has its worst game of the season, right? And South Carolina happens to escape with everything going their way to win in double overtime at home, right?
They'll
You know what I'm
probably
saying?
just throw batteries at each other to celebrate.
They will crack open the batteries and drink them like stem cells, right?
All right.
I don't know what it would mean. It might mean that they were becoming bowl eligible. That's still kind of the goal for the Gamecocks, right? Is to just get to a bowl. And that's a lofty goal, frankly. It's
It
an
is.
achievable, potentially goal. If you deserve it and earn it, I think that bowl game might be a lot of fun. Look, a few years ago when they played Michigan, that was a ton of fun, right? It seemed to be a meaningless bowl game, but anyway, I digress. Let's talk about something more important. Surely there's a better game out there. No? Again, Louisville is a run-first team. I say run-first. They almost run exclusively. So, okay, Arkansas at Auburn. No, Auburn at Arkansas. Arkansas is bad. UCLA at Stanford. Those are two bad teams. Nobody cares.
Pittsburgh,
Ohio State's going to
Syracuse,
destroy Northwestern. Pittsburgh, Syracuse. No. That's actually going to be a fun game, except it's going to be not elite level competition.
Fun,
that's
terrible,
two.
maybe.
No, that's two good football teams, not great football teams. That could end up being super competitive. Look, again, I think a lot of people, we got all upset at Dabo Swinney yelling at the kicker, right? The problem is we forget that he didn't have much else to yell about in this game, Dave. Everything else went really smoothly. Yeah, Trevor threw an interception. That was it. It was disciplined. There weren't a lot of penalties. They weren't celebrating the wrong way. The kicker got yelled at for making a mistake on his own, not playing up to his standard, but I don't expect to see, who cares about that if you play Pitt and Syracuse? Me. I care. Because both of those teams are about equal. That should be a good game. West Virginia, Oklahoma, no. Georgia Tech at Miami. I don't think Georgia Tech's that great. I don't think Miami's that great. I don't think that's a game that you should watch. It's at noon. There's probably a better game even at noon. That noon game, by the way, for South Carolina at Georgia was one of the top watched games. I think the second most watched game in ESPN history for the last 3 seasons for noon games.
Wow.
I wish I could remember what the number one was, but my guess it would be the Red River rivalry, which was anything but this past.
I heard a take today that Miami could somehow end up on top of the Coastal.
We didn't talk about the Red River shootout either. Oklahoma,
Texas.
Yeah, Oklahoma versus Texas. They made it seem a little bit competitive at first. Texas is decimated on defense. They have a ton of injury, Dave, and it's not pretty. I don't think that was why Oklahoma was able to beat them, but that was a good football game. Like, that was I don't want to say evenly matched, but it was fun to watch in the way that I think Pitt and Syracuse could be fun to watch. I could be totally wrong, but again, it's at noon, so if you're at noon and you don't have anything to do and you got your taxes done already, then go ahead and do that.
I just wonder with Jalen Hurts going up against potentially better and better defenses. Mm-hmm. Texas is arguably the best one they faced, right?
For sure, but again, decimated with injury. But CeeDee Lamb is incredible.
And it did keep it closer than their games have been.
At first.
So, I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. Just not this weekend. They're going to bury West Virginia. Coastal Carolina at Georgia Southern. Go get them, Chanticleers. I don't know what else to say about that. Oregon State at California. California is still out there starting quarterback. Their defense is okay. I'm going to pick Cal because it's at home, but I don't recommend watching it. LSU against Mississippi State. This is not the same Mississippi State we've seen for the last few years. LSU is going to destroy them. Mississippi State has fallen off. They've fallen off almost as bad, not nearly really as bad as Florida State, but they're not good. La Monroe at App State. That's going to be a slaughter. App State ranked 24th. That's kind of neat. South Florida.
Man.
South Florida at Navy. Let's just skip it. Duke at Virginia. This is sort of like Pitt and Syracuse, except Duke and Virginia are legitimately two of the better teams in the league. Duke and Virginia could be great. Virginia has some key injuries. I don't know how to call this one. I'm going to call Virginia because it's at home. But this is a good football game. Not a great football game, but should look competitive and should be fun to watch. It's at 3:30. Same time as UNC at Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's not good.
No, UNC should easily take care of that.
But we never know what to expect from UNC, it seems like. Hopefully, I'm kind of rooting for the Tar Heels. Go get a Mac Brown.
For sure.
Return of the Mac. Southern Miss, La Tech. I'm giving it to So Miss.
Oregon, Washington.
Yeah, I'm picking the Ducks. Middle Tennessee State, North Texas. Who's Cincinnati got? Tulsa at Cincinnati. Next, Charlotte, Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky's going to win. Baylor at Oklahoma State. Baylor, another undefeated team, Dave. There's not that many of them left out there. Matt Rule is terrific. He might be the... Don't take this the wrong way. Matt Rule might be the Dabo Swinney of the Big 12 in the sense that nobody talked about him before. He's a real good catalyst for change, an excellent teacher and leader for young men at a place that desperately needed it. Not that Clemson did, but Baylor certainly did. I love Matt Rule. I can't pick against him. Even on the road at Oklahoma State, Baylor remains undefeated 7-0. Let's go get him. I hope I don't regret that.
Get them fighting Bays.
Missouri looking resurgent at Vanderbilt, who's not playing all that great. So I'm picking Missouri. Go Tigers. It's fun to say go Tigers anyway.
KB.
Why don't you try it on for size?
Go Tigers.
How do you spell Clemson?
Clemzon.
Oh, you didn't. I wanted you to. Never mind. Clemson. T-I.
It's got a P and a Z in it, Gray.
P-Z-I-R-S. Kentucky, Georgia. Nope. Wildcats are endangered. Rice.
Tulane,
terrible.
Memphis.
Okay, Memphis coming off a loss, playing well. This wasn't. I don't feel like they necessarily deserved a loss, but Temple was doing a really good job too. Things just started to not go their way. Sort of the same way that how Cincinnati was not able to score a single point in Columbus earlier this year. That's what happened to Memphis last weekend at Temple. Tulane, you're doomed. Western Michigan versus Eastern Michigan. The less we talk about the state of Michigan, the better. That's how I feel about it. Yeah, that's low down.
Does that mean it's the Mitten versus the Peninsula?
I wish it did.
Because that would be cool.
Not really cool, but I'll take it.
What if their two mascots were just the Mitten and the Peninsula?
How about Kansas at number 15, Texas? The Fighting Les Miles.
How about it?
I don't think that Kansas will win, but Les Miles has proved certainly plenty of times before that he can do the unexpected. Like I said, Texas is decimated on defense. I don't think that Kansas is going to win. But this one might be interesting. What time is that one? 7 p.m.? Oh, you got better things to do. Nope. But watch the beginning of it.
He's never done it with Kansas players. So.
Colorado, Washington State. The Pac-12 can't seem to make up his mind, and neither can I. That's why we're moving on. Texas A&M, now they get to let all their bench. Look, Texas A&M on defense in particular had a lot of energy. They had passion. They had fire. They had anger against Alabama this weekend, particularly in the second half. My guess is that continues on the road at Ole Miss in Oxford. So I'm going with the Aggies here. I don't know what the spread is, but next you got Michigan, who's, what is that, 18th? 16th?
16?
I don't know how far they drop when they lose this weekend on the road at Penn State in a whiteout, but maybe it's for the best if they just drop out of the top 25. I'm not kidding. Florida State at Wake Forest. The weirdest. Have you ever been to Wake Forest, Dave?
Yes.
Yeah. What did you think about it?
I felt like I could throw a rock across campus.
You can. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's not just small, it's very strangely designed, right? Where like the band and the cheerleaders are up on a platform above the field.
Oh, well, that's even different. I've never been to their stadium. I've just been to their campus.
Oh, I see.
It was very weird.
If you've ever seen high school football,
Felt like
this looks like high school
like my
football
high school.
in Canada in a movie about sci-fi. I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And I don't know how to call it except to say that I'm rooting for Wake Forest. I don't think Florida State is better than Wake Forest. I think after Wake Forest just lost, I hope they come out strong. And now I'm looking at number 1 Alabama against Cupcake, the Lady Vols of Tennessee. That sounds like the mayor of Knoxville calling his wife. She returns with the exact same sound. That's all they get. I don't even know how to get constructive with hating Tennessee right now. But it's Tennessee Hate Week. I can't wait to smoke my cigar Saturday night. This is Alabama's first true night game with these crazy LED lights. So I know not many people are going to be watching, and it does start really late at 9 p.m. I have no idea how this happened. We've been playing Tennessee for the better part of a decade at 3:30 at home and on the road. And when they've had competitive teams, so I don't know how this happened at all. Probably just going to have to give all the credit to Alabama's 80 Greg Byrne, but this is still going to be a slaughter. Everything is in Alabama's way. They're looking elite. The offense is looking elite. They won't have Devontae Smith. I guess that's the only blemish this time. Alabama has gotten back some players, including from suspension and injury. They're certainly not 100%, especially on defense, but they're getting better and better and better, in particular on defense with their freshmen and their returning guys who, like Shaheem Carter, he was finally able to tackle some guys this past weekend on the road at College Station. I'm amped up to see Alabama be able to continue to get more elite right, to look more like they deserve to be ranked number one. Frankly, right now, I would still put Ohio State at number one, to be honest, in spite of the fact that they didn't play last weekend. But I would also almost, well, it's tricky because this isn't going to turn anybody's head either, but I just hope they put 90 on Tennessee. Tennessee, again, will score a field goal because they can't stand having a 0 up there, but they will settle. Sorry, Vols, not sorry. Arizona at SoCal. SoCal coming off a loss on the road at Notre Dame. I think they're on their
Played them close though.
They're on their 14th quarterback this year or something, probably. I don't know.
I didn't see any of this, but the score was way closer than.
It's another one of those games that I'm not prepared to call.
Who knows how it ended up?
Boise State on the road at BYU. I'm never picking against the Broncos until proven otherwise. Air Force at Hawaii. Again, Hawaii just lost a tough one on the road at Boise State. And I like Hawaii. Go get them. Is that it?
That's it.
That's good enough. Dave, I've kept you here long enough. I don't think there's any games Thursday or anything either, right?
Let's go ahead and go through next week's
You want
football.
to?
No,
Yeah?
I'm good.
Okay. Good.
It's
like
been
I
a
said,
pleasure, though.
We weren't prepared. We've been to a few Clemson games before.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize if I get in your way because I'm taller than you and I stand up a lot and I scream and shout at a lot of plays. I remember, I think it was South Carolina State where I remember seeing Taj Boyd throw a touchdown. And as soon as his arm went back, like the ball is still in his control, it hasn't left his arm, I jumped up and screamed touchdown. And because it was at home against South Carolina State and we were already up 3 or 4 touchdowns, it was very quiet. It was also a hot day. And so I screamed touchdown, and people literally took their eyes away from the play, including you, to look at me while I'm screaming and pointing at this ball that's in the air for like a 40-yard rainbow to the. I can't remember who it was who caught the pass and ran for another 20 yards for the touchdown. But I love going to Clemson games with you, man. And go Tigers! And I love your dog Watson. I wish he went out of town more often so I could watch him. He's not the best. He's second best. You're the best.
Aww.
Thank you for being here with me today.
Thanks for having
Thank
me.
you very much. Thanks again to the Growler Haus in the Village of West Greenville. There are several Growler Houses throughout the upstate. They're all terrific, but I sincerely, personally recommend the one here in the Growler Haus in the Village of West Greenville. Come get some delicious, sweet and salty tater tots for dessert. Come get again, we had another beer and I can't remember what this is. Do you remember?
I had a Death by Coconut from Oscar Blues. It was delicious.
I'm drinking this in a tulip glass,
Same.
which you can't do without having your pinky outstretched like you're the Godfather, which is nice.
This
thank you, Craig.
episode brought to you by the Growler Haus of West Greenville.
The Growler Haus and the train system of West Greenville. Thank you, Craig. Thank
Go
you, Dylan.
to Google and type in Growler Haus upstate locations and find the location closest to you.
Can you spell house for the listeners?
Haus.
That's right.
Haus.
Thank you again, Craig, Dylan, Tina.
Craig's
Zeb.
the man. Good dude.
Good dude. I'm literally forgetting the. Oh my God. Tyson. Roll Tide, brother. Oh my God. The chef.
Tyson Pumashon?
No. I'm looking at him practically anyway. He didn't hear me. Doesn't matter. Thank you also to Fete Greenville magazine. We come out every single Wednesday. You can find the Gray Zones in it. The whole thing is free. It's all digital. It's all good. It's all free. And you know you want it. Go get it right now. Also, iONGreenville and the iONGreenville.net app. Get it. It's free. It helps you learn and figure out where to go, what to do everywhere in and around the upstate at all times. And it's all completely free. It's really intuitive. Don't forget, go do your iONGreenville.net pick'ems. Are you doing your pick'ems?
I have not.
My pick'ems were pretty good last week. I think I'm in like 12th place, so I'm doing all right.
I am only
Actually,
playing
really good.
fantasy football right now, and it's
Yeah.
the worst season of my life. I'm 0-6, and I hate my life, and I can't participate in other football
I
activities.
legit did fantasy football 1 year. I say legit, like I paid to do it. Like I participated and actively tried to do well. I've never done so bad, right? It was awful. It was a terrible experience for me. I'll never do fantasy football.
Yeah.
But if you do,
Well, my problem was my first 2 seasons with different groups. I either won or came in second place. I was like, I got this. And then I was hooked, and now I suck.
Have you ever seen? You've seen Family Guy. Have you ever seen the Grim Reaper on Family Guy?
Yes.
That's who I was for every single one of my picks. It's like, oh, Derrick Henry, you're invulnerable. Now you got an ankle injury. Oh, Marcus Mariota, dead. Like, oh, look, Tyler Eifert, nobody even knows who you are. You're going to play the Steelers and get your back broken. Like, what?
That's what my roster looks like.
Everybody
right now.
was dead. Like, my whole thing was IR, and I just
It's
didn't have
a bunch
enough.
of Q's and O's.
Oh my God. But if you are doing your fantasy picks, you can come do them here at the Growler Haus in the Village of West Greenville. Thanks again, Dave. Go Tigers. Roll Tide. F you once, F you twice, F you all the time. You got anything else you want to say before we leave?
Spurs up, baby.
Oh, my God. Thought you were going to say something for the Gamecocks again. Go Dogs. All right, thanks, Dave. You're the very best. I miss you. I love you. Go Tigers. I love your dog.
Thank you, Gray. It's
Please
been
leave the
my
country
pleasure.
more often so I can babysit and pick up his enormous poops, because his poops even have weight. He's a very powerful dog.
Yes.
All right, good Tigers. See y'all. Thanks.
Not red, not blue, not white, not green, just gray. Just gray.